Welcome to Black Creatives in Liminal Spaces, where host Khadijah Ali-Coleman dives deep into the intersectional worlds crafted by Black visionaries. This podcast is a vibrant tapestry, weaving together the arts, science, education, technology, and beyond. Join us for enlightening conversations that uncover the innovative ideas and unique perspectives of Black creatives who are not just dreaming, but actively reshaping our world.
Kymone Freeman is an artist, activist, and co-founder of We Act Radio, Washington, D.C.'s independent progressive radio and TV studio since 2011. He established the Charnice Milton Community Bookstore in 2018 and is also an author and award-winning playwright with several productions to his credit. He won the 2017 PRNDI Award for commentary and published articles in print with the Washington Post and Ebony Magazine. He was part of international delegations to Cuba, Kenya, Ghana, and Venezuela, and ran for Congress in 2024 against Democratic incumbent Eleanor Holmes Norton. Kymone Freeman is a native of the District of Columbia.
Good stuff. Okay, so I feel like we have a lot of catching up to do. I interviewed you for another podcast a little over 2 years ago, and so you, of course, are going to be on my radar for a teach-in on writing for liberation. All the things that you've done for our listeners and for our viewers. I have known Kymone Freeman now. It has been over 15 years, off and on. Wow. We have been in circles. I first met Poppy Kymone Freeman when I was covering him for East of the River, a publication from Capital Community News that I used to write for over 15 years ago. And I was covering you. So for our listeners and our viewers, because it's going to be very hard for me to edit out my dogs yelping in the back, please disregard for those. I'm actually watching them for my daughter, who is their mother, and that's why they're acting ridiculous, because she's at work. But when I was interviewing you, Kymone, it was for prison poetry. Your first play, Prison Poetry. And I always love to bring to your attention how you told me to stop taking so many damn pictures, because I was clicking on my Canon. My flash was going off. And you were like, I don't even think you realized that it was me yet. Because I hadn't interviewed you yet. I was taking the photos that would accompany my article, but it was hilarious. Right. But since then, so Prison Poetry was definitely a form of writing for liberation. You then went on. Oh my goodness, where do we end? Where do we begin? I interviewed you 2 years ago because you debuted your novel, Nivi. Tell us about that.
Nineveh, Conflict Over Water, that is fiction, but based on reality. So we call it reality fiction, because the prediction is that by the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish if we don't do something different. And so the water crisis, even our former Vice President Kamala Harris said that the next conflict will be over water. And nobody act like they didn't hear what she just said.
Right.
So Nineveh did well. In terms of small book publishing houses like Strong Arm Press, that I'm so grateful that it saw the value and published the book. We did about 800 or 900 copies of that, and apparently that's good for a small printing house and first-time publishers. But we're been pushing the story, trying to get some film production. So it's a story whose time has come. So we're gonna keep pushing that. You won't get tired of me talking about water, because it's not
absolutely not. I will never get tired of it. And for the listeners and viewers, I actually heard or saw this vision for this novel as a film. And so to
Oh, wow.
know that you're going back to finish, because remember you released a short film, and it was such a teaser because I thought it was going to be a film first, but it actually was your novel first. So I'm
Yeah,
so
short
thrilled to
money,
hear.
short film.
But
But
I'm thrilled to
I've
know.
been inspired. Yeah,
Yeah. So so you're in talks. Is it going to be a short film or is it going to be a full length?
we're pursuing a full length, and at this point, we open to um, even animation. That there's been talks about releasing it that way. So it's some ongoing talks right now. I'm honored that some people are taking me serious, but it's maneuvers in that. Um, but
That's fantastic.
yeah, I'm honored to be in discussions and on people's radar.
So what folks don't realize yet, because I'm still just doing the trajectory of things that I'm aware that you've been involved in as a writer. But what folks don't realize is that you are a media owner. You own We Act. You're one of the co-owners, but you also are a mayoral. I can never say that. You ran for mayor of DC.
Not mayor. I ran for Congress.
Congress. I said
Congress.
mayor. Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm like your mother. I'm just, baby,
Some
you can
people,
do
some people have tried to talk me into doing the mayor thing, but that's a lot more money.
it. Baby,
Yeah.
you can do it. My baby's the mayor. You know how your family always gets it wrong what your major is and what your job is. So that's me.
Yeah.
but tell us about.
Yeah. I ran for Congress in DC. It's called DC delegate because we don't actually have a vote in Congress. Um, and Eleanor Holmes Norton is now literally the oldest person in Congress. So because of that, I felt it was time that we passed the torch. And when I said it last year, people were offended. They thought that I was being disrespectful or even sacrilegious to the point. And I'm like, me, I'm the dude who has the biggest mural of Eleanor Holmes Norton in the city. Behind We Act Radio in our community garden, we have a DC statehood mural that features Petey Green, Marion Barry, and Eleanor Holmes Norton, and she is bigger than all of them. Okay, Eleanor, and we did that. We was on a very public boat ride, the Anacostia Coordinating Council annual boat ride, and I publicly got on bended knee and presented her with a bouquet of flowers. All right, a $200 bouquet of flowers from Lee's Flower Shop, mind you. These are things that I've done. Before I decided to run and after. So I'm sincere in my honoring to the legacy of our civil rights icon, a warrior on the hill, Eleanor Holmes Norton. All I was simply saying is that at 88 years old, it's time to pass the torch. And so even our most respected elders can become gatekeepers. And now that Washington Post and the New York Times and the Washingtonian Magazine, who caught wind of what I was saying then, when she had a Mitch McConnell moment a few weeks ago at Arena Stage, now it's public knowledge, and these mainstream publications have picked up on it. Now it's become, acceptable. But she still is holding to her guns and insisting on running again next year, which is fine with me because I think it makes it much easier being a one-on-one contest as opposed to Wu-Tang Clan running. If she was to step down and then I have to deal with 9 or 10 people and trying to stand out with that, which would be okay if we had ranked choice voting, which we do not. But I'm inspired and I'm very excited by the New York City mayoral race. We're talking about mayors next week because Zoran Madami is changing the game and changing history as we speak. And if he's able to upset the Democratic establishment and the old guard, I think it would be a lot easier for my path going forward.
I absolutely love
interviewing you and just being in conversation with you, because you carry this honesty and this passion in everything you do, whether you're writing, whether you're on your radio show, whether you're running for office, whether you're just in a community chopping it up with folks. And I know that there has had to be, because even as you're speaking about the pushback that you got regarding running against Eleanor Holmes Norton, and saying the things that you have said in terms of it needing to be a change of guard, I know that it can be painful or hurtful a lot of times when you see the faces or receive the feedback that you do, oftentimes from people that you respect and know. And this teaching is intended to really give people, be a beacon for those who want to speak truth to power, but just aren't really aware of precedent and knowledgeable that there are a lot of us out here that are doing this work. And I really wanted to know from you, what is your honest reflection on what this path has been for you, and what advice would you offer someone who wants to, your novel, when I interviewed you 2 years ago, you were talking about aquifers, the deep research that went into it, the things that you're talking about, which at times, for someone who isn't as knowledgeable, or even that's not even on their radar, they can easily chalk it up to be some conspiracy theory, or be dismissive as, you're just like, you're just a crackpot, you know what I mean? But so how do you deal with this? What is some advice that you would give to somebody who maybe needs to know that this is a pathway that's possible? What do you do to keep going?
There's a line in the book that says that, fortunately for us, it was talking to the antagonist of the book, Nimrod, who was the head of the Global Water Corporation, that take over the fascist world. We're getting a taste of it now. But he says that, thankfully, that people only they don't look beyond the surface of things, And I would encourage people, to take a deeper look, because we can. Look at the ocean. It's a beautiful sunset, right? The waters are calm. Everything looks beautiful. But there could be trouble beneath that surface. There could be things down there that could shorten your lifespan. But you'll stay up here on the surface and pretend like everything is fine. And that is how a lot of people choose to live their lives. And unfortunately, it's not enough for me. It's like once you have pulled back the curtain at the Wizard of Oz, you can no longer pretend you were in Kansas anymore. So if you have, I urge everybody to take the red pill and come on this trip with me, because we've been fed a bad bill of goods, a lot of lies and half truths. And if we want to, because when we came up, we was told, just get a good government job and everything will be fine. And we now know that, far be it, that is not the case. And so I think that, in the words of Gil Scott, we want to quote a writer here, is that, change is inevitable, but rather continue to simply go through the change. We're here to direct the change. And as a grown-ass man, I'm realizing my power and ability to at least influence that change. And I'm here to do what I can, as long as I can, for as far as I can.
I appreciate, first of all, you're the king of quotes. I don't think I've interviewed anybody who is able to drop a quote as readily and as accurately as you. But what I think quotes, is, and you remember them, I will jack up a quote in a heartbeat. But what
I have done that.
Yeah. What I would love for folks to know is that, as much as you tackle the serious issues, whether it's the prison industrial complex in your play, prison poetry, or the water shortage to come in your novel, your most recent novel, you also write plays where it's a touch of brings brevity, whatever, to the conversation. You recently did a play about Michael Jackson, and you have one on Prince coming up, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit about it, about both of those pieces, conspiracy theories and all.
we were saying off air. He was like, are you writing anything?" And I was like, "Wow." When you said you wanted to have this conversation, I was like, I took it as a sign that I need to start writing to get started because my next piece, as you just alluded to, is the night Prince was killed. And I was saying before that, someone and the USA Today has reported, for those who want to dismiss a conspiracy theory, that someone switched Prince's normal painkillers with fentanyl. That is murder. Okay, if I take your normal prescription and give you something that can kill you, but then it went no further than that. And of course, he died without a will, right? On the elevator. The only space in Crazy Park that doesn't have cameras is in the elevator. All right. So there we go. So the night Prince was killed, and it's going to come out on the 10th anniversary of his death next April. Sometimes it snows in April, right? So I have to get started. Here we are, well into June. I not only have to write the play, I have to then set up the stage reading. That's what I do. I produce the stage reading. We charge tickets. People come out. And that's an avenue I don't think enough writers really use. Don't wait for someone to produce your work. Put your work out there. Put your work out there, and people are willing to listen to a good story. Everything's a story. Every TV show, every movie, even the news report is a story. Somebody's telling you a story. So there is what it says: 8 million stories in the city. Yours could be one of them. Put it out there. Okay. Don't wait for someone to discover you or justify you or validate you. But having said that, the first theatrical production ever to appear at the Hamilton Live here in Washington, D.C. was the night Michael Jackson died. And they're under different management, but I'm hoping that they will have us back for the night Prince was killed. So it would. I'm trying to decide on whether or not that I'm going to pick up with the same characters I had in the night Michael Jackson died and have them for the night Prince was killed. I'm really interested. I might be doing that because it sounds so intriguing. And plus, I already know these people and, it can put them in a different space. So I'm really thinking about doing that. And if I do that, it would be 5 actors and a DJ. All right. So 5 actors and a DJ will tell the story of the night Prince was killed. Then the night Michael Jackson died, the story happens on the actual night that he died. And we released it on the 10th anniversary of his death. For Prince, the story will actually take place on the actual 10th anniversary in real time of his death. And it's going to be some big celebration of Prince's life that they're all attending. And I always have to politicize everything I do. So the night Prince died, the night Michael Jackson died. Excuse me here, I gotta interrupt him here. That's my cousin calling me. I'm sorry, guys. I thought I had blocked my phone. The night Prince was, so the political backdrop of the Michael Jackson story was that they was in Miami, and it was a Cuban club, and so these guys, one of them was in the military, and they meet these Cuban women, and now the U.S.-Cuban relations gets debated in that setting, and that's what politicizes the night Michael Jackson died. For Prince, I haven't decided what's the political backdrop going to be, but I'm pretty sure it's probably going to hit somewhere between either Burkina Faso or Israel and Palestine. Somewhere in there. Might be a combination of the two, because you got to be mindful. I got to write it now as opposed and have it ready to tell in the future. So.
And that is so fascinating because you wrote the day Michael Jackson died before. Had you gone to Cuba before? Because just for our listeners,
I had been to
view
Cuba.
it. Okay.
Yeah,
I
I've
was
been to
just going to say
Cuba.
that we went to Cuba together with Busboys and Poets last year, but
Hmm.
that wasn't the first time you had been to Cuba.
No, that was my third trip to Cuba. Yeah,
Oh wow! Oh wow!
yeah, I love
So
Cuba.
that would still be relevant though. When we
Yeah, I'm
think
still trying to
about immigration that's
perform
happening
in
here.
Cuba. I want to have Cuban actors, to do that. That's one of my goals. So we keep pushing. We keep pushing.
That is so
Yeah.
exciting. And so I wanted that to be the last question, but I did want to bring up, I forgot that you also had another play that you have been touring, Angry Black Man. And when we even think about writing for liberation, during our teaching, we're going to definitely have writers who look at liberation and liberatory practice as being able to write for health and healing. And so that was definitely one of your pieces where you were very transparent and you centered around yourself, unlike some of your other pieces. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, yeah. Angry Black Man in Therapy was uh, it was a one man play that I told some stories that I felt were instrumental in my development, and I wanted to make sure that you know I told my story, and one of the things that choked me up, that choked the audience up. I did that play. Um, I was at 5 or 6 shows. I did 5 or 6 shows of that at every single Busboys and Poets in the DMV. All right. So shout out to Busboys and Poets for allowing the brother to do that. And when I did the first show, I did it in Virginia location. It snowed, thank God. So no one came. The first show, no one came. But I remember Whoopi Goldberg doing her one woman show, excuse me, and she was depressed because no one came. But it was 2 people there, and one of them was from Broadway that ultimately produced her play. So she said, "You perform as long as somebody's there, you perform it." And the staff was there, so the staff watching the first show, and then it was terrible. I watched the video back, but each show got better. And so when I got to the last show, it was fire. It was actually got better around the fourth show. So I only bombed like the first 2 or 3 times, but about the fourth show started really getting good. The fifth show, Shalal was there, the owner of Busboys and Poets, so he saw the fifth show, and the audience got choked up when I told them about my grandfather, you know, and no one asked him about what was his dreams, he had, so I superimposed a dream on him. Well, I said, well, he was a sharecropper in North Carolina. He had dreams of becoming a pilot. So he moved to DC to pursue his dream as a pilot. But a black man in the 50s with flight experience was no different from a black man without flight experience. and DC is still the South, you know. And so that crushed him, And when I told that story about the juxtaposition of someone else's grandfather leaving him $100,000 trust fund, the juxtaposition got real misty eyed. The whole audience, and that's was just another reminder of when you talk about liberatory writing. If you can tell the truth, like we said, the 8 million stories in the city, everyone has a story, but you have to be willing to tell your truth. Okay, and your truth is the one that you really don't want that many people to know about. You're very uncomfortable talking about, and unless you're willing to be that honest with yourself, you're not going to resonate. Okay, you're not going to resonate. What's going to hit is when you tell that uncomfortable truth. So I'm glad you brought that up. But I'm also working on episodic series from my mentor Sam Greenlee, The Spook Who Sat by the Door, called Star Children, and it's telling the story of what an insurrection will look like in the nation's capital in real time, right now, and not by some superheroes who's a bomb expert or a weapons expert or a martial art expert. We're talking about a teacher, a stripper, a poet. These are regular people who came together to do some extraordinary things in extraordinary circumstances.
So
And so I worked on
we
that.
had there was an insurrection in 2021, but you talking about the players in this insurrection are going to look like you and I.
So it look like you and I is going to be the good guys. Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait. So this is going to be a novel, a play. What is this going to be?
This is going to be an episodic series. This is for TV. So we're trying to get this in, and I've already sent some stuff off, and we're hopefully going to hear back soon. I'm supposed to be, I'm applying for a fellowship with Disney, and we pitching to Hulu and to what's the other outlet? FX. So we're trying to get some things done because I think because of the times that we live in, these stories, the relevancy of these stories are more attractive. I don't think I would have any hopes of getting any of these stories told, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, but they are now. Because how many times we're going to hear this ghetto story about the neighborhood drug dealer and the conflict about the hood? We got to get
Exactly.
beyond that. We got to get beyond the surface.
Exactly.
I want
All
instead of a
right.
quote, I wanted to pull up a Toni Morris quote about artists going to work, and I'll close with that. So just give me a cue when you're ready. I just want to make sure
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
oh,
I know you. I know you used to directing, Mr. Playwright. You can direct. You can direct us out. You can go
you
ahead.
know, but if anybody want to support the work that we're doing politically, it's Freeman, the number 4Congress.com. It's Freeman, the number 4Congress.com. The our media platform is weactradio.com, weactradio.com, and then look out for our productions because we mix in art and politics. And another quote from Toni Morris, she said, "All good art is political." But this is what she had to say about liberatory writing. She said, "I'm staring out the window in an extremely dark mood, feeling helpless, when a friend, a fellow artist, calls and asks, 'How are you?' And instead of 'fine' and 'you,' I blurt out the truth. 'Not well. Not only am I depressed, I can't seem to work, to write. It is as though I'm paralyzed, unable to write anything. I never felt this way before.' I'm about to explain with further detail when he interrupts, shouting, 'No, no, no, no. This is precisely the time when artists go to work. Not when everything is fine, but in times of dread. That's our job.' I felt foolish the rest of the morning, especially when I realized the artists who had done their work in gulags, prison cells, hospital beds, who did their work while hounded, exiled, reviled, pillared, and those who were executed. This is precisely the time when artists go to work. There's no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write, we do language. That is how civilizations heal." Toni Morrison. And I leave that with you.
Oh my gosh! And mic drop, and we're
Namaste.
out. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you always.